Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Lou. Thanks for checking out Conrail's Boston line. I'm doing a little video for you about the new Scale Trains SD40-2. I just picked it up pre-order and it just came this week. I love it. I mean, I think pretty much anything by Scale Trains in the rivet counter is, it's going to be a home run, but I like these. These are really nice. The detail's amazing. Um, the car body's amazing, but there's plenty of reviews about that. There were a couple critiques that I had as far as the programming goes, and I was able to actually clean it up really nice. So I figured I would just make a little video and just show you guys what I did. You can do it, you can not do it, but something that I add to it, and I think you'll enjoy it. I don't know if this applies to other scale trains. I'm going to assume it does because all the scale trains uses the ESU Loc sound. And one of the things that I love about ESU Loc sound is the flange squeal. I just think it's just a cool sound. I think it just adds to the overall sound as the train's going by, especially on a curvy, or if you're in like an interlocking or going through switches or whatever. So I try to incorporate that into all my Loc sounds. This is probably the 20th Loc sound that we have here between me and the old man. So we have enough of them that I'm finally starting to figure it out. But let me at least show you. Turn the headlight on. From the factory, at least the Conrail SD40-2 comes with the marker lights, which are awesome. But what I didn't like was that the factory programming and the factory logic, you could only have them on in reverse. So in reverse, as you're going away, they would be on. So I guess if you were a pusher or something, that makes sense. But what happens when you want to go forward with the marker lights on? You can't, because when you go forward, the forward ones turn off and the rear ones turn on. So I thought that was kind of, I get it. I guess their idea was, if you're pushing on the back, which the Dash 2s, were mixed, but they definitely found their spot in pusher service. As they're trailing away, you want the headlight on and the marker lights on as they're going away. But if I've been watching a lot of Conrail videos, and I keep noticing that the markers are on going forward also. So that was something that I played around with the programming, and I was able to get it to. So I'll do a little at the end. I'll show you how I change that in the Loc programmer. You're gonna need for the two things I'm gonna talk about. You need the Loc programmer. If you don't have one, go buy one. If you don't have one, you need one. If you have any Loc Sound ESU products, you need one. I mean, the JMRI software is great. Don't get me wrong, but just go buy a Loc programmer and thank me later. So that was the one thing, and then the other thing, let me fire it up, was to actually add the flange squeal, because the flange squeal is not part of the factory sound. All right, so you can see I'm just going through the startup procedure, but I like the flange squeal, like the engine's on a curve right now, and you can hear it grinding away as it leaves. So I'm not trying to sell it on you. I think it's cool. I've talked to other people who don't think it's cool. But to me, the flame squeal is something that sets the Loc sound decoder apart from the other ones, because to the best of my knowledge, you don't get that in a Tsunami or train control systems, etc. So um, that's one of the reasons that I use the Loc sound, is because I think the sound is cool. So what I decided to do was try to go into the programming on the Loc programmer and figure it out. I sent Scale Trains an email and they told me that the flange squeal is not included in the factory software. They're actually kind of wrong. It is in there. You just have to know how to access it. So I'm just going to show you. Just don't mind the really poor camera work here. But if you go in to the Loc programmer here, you're going to pull up your engine, read your software with the green button, or you can download it. Well, you can't download the Scale Trains, but anyway, you just read it. Once everything comes up, you come over here to the sound tab. And you're going to find an empty sound slot. So like in my case, I assigned sound slot 16. And then you're going to come over here to the sound library that comes with every Loc sound V5. And under miscellaneous is curve squeal. Now there's a couple different ones. Not really too crazy about the other ones. Curve squeal, the Swiss one, sounds like almost like a high speed, like a train going by fast. And then the curve squeal 1 is kind of that low, slow grind, like a freight yard or industrial. And then curve squeal 2 is just kind of, I don't know, it's just weird. I'll play it for you. I mean, you guys can do this yourself, but. I don't know. I'm not crazy about it, but I use flange squeal, curve squeal 1. So you just select it. You're going to hit the arrow into the sound slot that you want it to go into. And then you're going to go back into your decoder tab. Go down to function mapping. And then whatever function you decide you want it to be, you're going to add it. So in my case, I do all my flange squeal as F6. So you're just going to click over here, click the down arrow, and scroll down through the list, and you'll eventually see it under the sound slot that you created for it. Now, the stock programming is going to have all sorts of different stuff. So I did another video, and I talked about how I set up in all my Loc chips. I do run 8 as function 7, and I do coast as function 9. I eliminate the drive hold because the drive hold is not compatible with other decoders. So you can drive hold your ESU engine, but the other 3 engines in your consist are going to go to full blast when you try to rev it up. So I think it's a cool feature, but I think it's kind of silly if you have all this stuff on your layout. So I get rid of that, and I just hit F7 for run 8 when I'm hitting the grade, and then I hit F9 for coast when I'm just cruising along. So that's how you set up the flange squeal. So now my function is F6 for flange squeal, F7 for run 8, F8 is obviously the mute, and also on the Scale Trains SD40-2, F8 also activates the number board. So the number boards only light up when your sound is on. That's kind of important. And then F9 is coast. So that's how I got the curve squeal in. You just go over here to sound, you find an empty slot, you come over here, you go into miscellaneous, and you can find it. There's a couple other things in there too. There's a switch, clank, switch flange, rail clanks, the clickety clack. I don't know. I'm not crazy. I think Tsunami clickety clack and the Tsunami 2 is definitely a little better. I thought that was kind of neat. It's not in sync, which was disappointing with the Tsunami 2. But anyway, that'll be another critique. So anyway, so that's the grind, and then for the marker lights, that was quite the snafu. I'm not going to walk you through it, but what you can do is just look at my outputs and functions conditions right here. Take a little screenshot and then change yours. But I'll walk you through the logic of it. Basically, what you want to do is remove all of ScaleTrain's logic for F5, which is the class lights. So from the factory, actually I could pull up a factory sound file, but from the factory, F5 has direction conditions built in. So if it's forward, the headlight comes on, but the marker lights only come on in the rear. Or if it's backwards, then only the front marker lights come on and the front headlight comes on dim. Somebody put a lot of thought into it. I just didn't really think it was necessary. So you got to change the headlights conditions up here and just make F0, which is the headlight for forward and reverse, just for front light and rear light. I think there's like F something, if not F5, get rid of all that. Just make it F0, that's it. Same thing for F5. All you want to do is turn on class lights. So when you come down here, go down and all you want are class lights. Class lights white, class whites red, class whites. I selected a bunch of auxiliaries because I wasn't exactly sure which auxiliary the class lights was wired to. I know auxiliary 8 is one of them, and I think auxiliary 7 may be the fronts. So you could even get crazy and assign the fronts to function 5 and the rears to function 6, or if you want to go deep into the functions, you're a Digitrax guy or whatever. You could split it up that way. I'm not sure if they're both wired to function 8 or if the fronts and the rears are individually wired. That's above my pay grade. But what I can tell you is that by checking all these auxiliaries, you're essentially linking every auxiliary to function 5. So when you hit function 5 on your controller, it powers all the auxiliaries, which is why the class lights all come on. So on my locomotive, when I hit F5, the front class lights and the rear class lights come on and stay on until I hit F5 again and turn F5 off, and then F5 will be off. So that's why I can have all the class lights on regardless of direction. I got rid of all the logic and I just linked F5 to the lights, and that's it. Do go down here because at the bottom, actually I deleted it because it was redundant, but there was another hidden function at the bottom that kept throwing me a curveball. It was something to do with, again, F5 and the headlight. So just make sure it drove me crazy. I think I had to reflash the decoder like 3 times. But make sure when you're done changing the lights up here and you're done setting your F5, and I removed F7 or F6 I think, because there's no ditch lights on this run. So those, you didn't need those. But yeah, there's another function down at the bottom you had to get rid of. Just make everything easy. No functions that rely on other functions. If you want the class lights, you hit F5. You want the headlights, you hit the headlight. And then F8, auxiliary 1 is the number board, so that comes on with the sound. You could change that too. Some guys don't want the auxiliary, the number boards on with sound. Right, so you can, let's say you wanted to assign that to F9 instead. You can go that way. You can just select here, auxiliary 1, number boards, and then that would control the number boards from F9 instead of the sound function F8 button. So that's basically it. And then obviously when you're done, so this is important, and I learned this the hard way too. So by adding the curve squeal over here, you are changing the sound of the decoder because you're changing the sound slots. So when you go to write your data, you're not just writing decoder data, you're actually writing sound files. So you got to do the long 30-minute sound file update and not just the data. Otherwise, the flange squeal won't go through. And then also, I recommend too, once you get your flange squeal set up there in your sound file, just come down here to is it sound slot settings? Yeah, and then sound slot configuration. You're going to lower the volume of your flange squeal. Mine's set around 50. I think when you first set it up, it's set up around 100 or 120, and it's way too loud. So just bring it down so it blends in nice. It's kind of you want it to be a background noise, I think, not a prominent screaming sound, but you just want to hear it. And I think that's the ticket. So just make sure you put the volume, lower the volume a little bit before you write the decoder. And you could play with it, but that's the way I figured it out. So I'm assuming that other scale trains engines that carry that are with the V5 will have the same features. You just gotta go into the sound slot and just put it in. You gotta find it under miscellaneous. So you can, if it works for you, leave me a comment. It'd be cool to see what other engines, Gevos or whatever, you can do it with. But that's it. I think it's great. Love the product. And again, thanks for watching. Have a good one.